He deserves the loudest voice. I don't know about you, but I came here today to celebrate God. In every song we sing and every game we play, to celebrate God. Always amazing, His love will never end. So everybody in this place, celebrate God.
Well, hello everybody. Today I'm going to invite you into our house so you can see what it's like on a typical morning when Tim is getting ready for work. Just to warn you, he is quite forgetful. See if you can notice what he remembers and what he forgets.
Okay, Grace, bye. I'm off to work. See you later.
But Tim, you forgot your mask.
Oh, yes, of course.
There you go.
Thank you. Mustn't forget this.
But Tim, you've forgotten your lunch.
Oh, my lunch. Hang on, let me put that in my bag. Lovely.
Tim, your stethoscope.
Oh. Right. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Oh dear. In today's story, we're going to see how God's people were also very forgetful. And Tim is going to read the story to us now.
Well, last week we found out what happened when the Israelites fled from Egypt and they were faced by the Red Sea. Do you remember? They panicked! But then we saw that God rescued them and brought them through. And now we're going to find out what the next part of our story is. This story is called 10 Ways to be Perfect. Well, there they all were. Grannies, granddads, babies, uncles, aunts and children. Out there in the middle of the desert. They had blisters from walking. They were hungry. They were thirsty. And much, much, much too hot. We don't like it. They said, it stinks. And so did they, for that matter, because no one had taken a bath in weeks. Now, remember, because this is something that they had forgotten, God had done amazing things for His people. He'd hidden them in the clouds. He'd moved the sea and He'd set them free. But God's people still weren't happy. They didn't care about being free. Wasn't it better when they were slaves? At least they had nice food to eat. They even started saying things like, God doesn't want us to be happy. You see, it was the same lie that Adam and Eve had heard all those years ago. God has brought us out here to kill us. God doesn't love us. But they didn't know God very well, did they? Every day of their journey, God kept on showing His people how well He would look after them, if they would trust Him and obey Him. When they were hungry, God made the sky rain with food, bread coming down from heaven. What is it? They asked each other, and they didn't know, so they called it, what is it? Which of course is a very good name for something you don't know what it is. When they were thirsty, they started quarrelling. God made water flow out from a rock, and Moses called that place Quarrelling, because that seemed like a good name too. And still, God's children didn't trust Him or do what He said. They thought that they could do a better job of looking after themselves and making themselves happy. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without Him. So God led them to a tall mountain. God wanted to talk to his people and show them what he was like. He wanted to help them know him better and tell them about the special land he was going to give them. The whole earth belongs to me, God said, but I have chosen you. You are my special family. I want you to live in a way that shows everyone else what I'm like, so they can know me too. Now remember, Moses had taken the people out of Egypt and he'd led them through the sea. And now Moses was called by God up the mountain. The great mountain shook. A thick cloud fell. Thunder roared. Lightning cracked. And God gave Moses 10 rules, called the commandments. I want you to love me more than anything else in the world, and know that I love you too, God told them. That is the most important thing. And God gave them other rules, like don't make yourself pretend gods, don't kill people, or steal, or lie. And you see, these rules showed God's people how to live, and how to be close to him, and how to be happy. They showed how life worked best. God promises to always look after you, Moses said. Will you love him and keep these rules? Yes, we can do it. Yes, we promise. That's what they all said, but they were wrong. They couldn't do it. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't keep God's rules all the time. And God knew they couldn't. And he wanted them to know that too. You see, only one person could keep all the rules. And many years later, God would send him to stand in their place and be perfect for them. Because the rules couldn't save them. Only God could save them. Well, I wouldn't be telling you any secrets if I told you that sometimes I'm a little bit forgetful.
Yeah, you are a little bit.
But sometimes, a little bit like God's people, when they first came out of Egypt and crossed the Red Sea and into the desert, see, they forgot that God was in control. And sometimes it's easy to do the same.
Yeah, sometimes we can forget that God's in control and we forget to trust him. You see, God's people forgot all the things that God had done, the way that he had cared for them, provided for them. They didn't trust him when things got difficult. Well, we're now going to sing a song that reminds us that God is in control, that he cares for us. And we hope you can join in the actions as we sing it together.